Hi everyone, and welcome back. And now I'm with Mark Bennett. How you doing, Mark?
Fine. Good to
see you again. Just saw you the other day at the Upcountry Community
Council.
Yes. Talking about the wild and scenic river. And we won't get into that right now. Maybe we'll touch on it. Now, I have you as an author and a journalist in a way.
Right.
Or I think bloggers are journalists.
Yes.
And tell us about your blog spot. Quickly, I guess it's called Outside the Ivory Tower?
Yes, it's Outside the Ivory Tower. It's on Amador Community News under Opinions and Issues. When I have a new posting, it's up in the headline, but that lasts a day or two.
Mm-hmm.
So click on across the top margin, Opinions and Issues, then scroll down the left to Mark Bennett Outside the Ivory Tower. And if you click on the bottom to the prior post, you can go back a year, and then in the left margin, you can click on Archives and go back several more years.
You can find you, and you have a lot of stuff. I've read some of your stuff on there, and you know what I like about authors, and when you write, usually you're pretty concise. You tighten it up, you pick the right words, and you can just go through it as opposed to sitting here and talking. So. That's what I like about it, writing. Things tend to be very clear what's going on. So let's talk to you a little bit about local politics. What's your finger on the pulse of local politics, sir?
Well, I think that the county is at a crossroads. We need economic development. There are environmentalists, and I prefer to say environmental extremists, because we all want a clean, healthy environment, certainly, preventing that. And I think a good example is what happened with Newman Ridge. Here we have a beautiful project. People took over a large tract of land. The first thing they did was put 15,000 acres in the Nature Conservancy permanently. They remediated 5 mines, including one going back to the Civil War, an old copper mine. That project will save our railroad, which is instrumental to this county surviving financially, economically. And the railroad is also essential because who wants 1,000 diesel, hundreds of diesel trucks on the road when we can have a railroad? They're mining andesite, which is a very hard rock that's not common for road beds. Their plant will recycle old asphalt and concrete road beds that presently go into landfills.
Okay.
And as Supervisor Novelli, who most people know used to work for the road department, has emphasized, when you repair a road and you go to get hot mix, right now we have to go to granite. And by the time you get to Amador County, it's no longer a hot mix. And so people complain about the roads here, and then here's part of the solution. It's not going to cost any more, but we'll have fresher, better material. So it's a great project.
So is your point in a way that maybe environmentalists really don't look at the larger issues, a lot of issues, and maybe just come in to oppose a project?
Well, I think they're opposing economic development in general. I think they have a surreptitious agenda. I am perhaps criticized for calling them the pro-poverty lobby, but I think that's true. What happened with Newman Ridge is an international campaign came out against the project. Their press release was picked up by Yahoo News as a news story. This was reprinted on other sites. They had a petition on the internet. People from Uzbekistan and all over the world were signing it, that they were going to poison our county. Now, they sued on the EIR. There were some minor problems with the EIR, which is an inevitable with a document this thick. They're being resolved as far as I know. But there was nothing substantive wrong, and their ridiculous claims people were being poisoned were shown not to be true. Now, many people, and I certainly am sympathetic, about 5 homeowners will be negatively impacted. Certainly I'm sympathetic, anyone would be. But there's a question of individual responsibility. If you buy a property or rent a property adjacent to a place that's been a mining site for over 150 million years, you're responsible for that decision. And I think it's kind of arrogant to say that everyone in the county should give up this valuable project. A lot of the environmentalists are saying that our future is tourism. It's not forestry, it's not quarrying, it's not gold mining. There are two things about tourism. One, of course, is it's low wage. So someone in a restaurant or a hotel or a gift shop will make a quarter, a full 25% of the wages of a heavy equipment operator at the quarry.
I could, in a way, point out, someone had commented to me the other day that there's a lot of musicians in Amador County, a lot of bands, and they're all working. And, you know, that's good news.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you know, they, like you say, you don't get paid a whole lot.
Right.
And the other thing is so that is the tourism is putting those people to work, but we have the mill closed, and the mill, you know, had people with, you know, high dollar jobs, so to speak, that were able to hold houses and buy refrigerators and cars locally and things like that. So we had, that doesn't seem like a good economic trade.
No, I don't think it is. And one thing, tourism is a vital industry here. This is a historic area. It will always be a vital industry.
Sure.
But tourism is dependent on prosperity elsewhere. People have, in nearby cities, having money and time to come here. Now, right now we're lucky. The Bay Area is of international prominence in high tech.
Right.
That will not go on forever. Things change. So tourism is very shaky on that basis. And then that's another major issue. We can control our economy and not be dependent on others.
Okay, and what would it take to control our economy and not be dependent on others?
A major political change in this county.
Okay. In the county? Do you feel that the county itself in its size is able to decide that commerce can be here and then somehow it's here?
No, I think the county is sadly relatively powerless in terms of the politics of the state and certainly the federal government. When I was at the Wild and Scenic hearing at the state legislature, I felt that our supervisors were basically humiliated.
By not being allowed to talk?
Right, by not being allowed to talk very much, and we're basically told you don't have very much power, get out of here, was really the attitude. There was a Board of Supervisors meeting a couple months ago. People from the Forest Service were there, and I stood up and said, this is upside down, backwards. We have unelected bureaucrats telling democratically elected officials what to do. It should be the other way around.
Well, the bureaucrats are now in the position to write all the rules and regulations and enforce them as well.
We've degenerated into an administrative rule society. The power is in the rule makers and not those we democratically elect. There are historic reasons for this, and in some cases it's very understandable. Many years ago, I think it was the Federal Trade Commission opposed the merger of two of the big three office supply retailers. And on one hand, you could say, well, this is crazy because together they only have 12, 15, 20% of the market for, let's say, envelopes. But they do consist, they are the marketplace because you have a business, you have 50 employees. You don't go to 5 stores for office supplies. You go to the one that's closest or has the best deal. So therefore, they are a marketplace. And the wisdom behind that is the market shifts, therefore a bureaucrat on top of it could be much more accurate than a slow-moving legislative body. So that's that side of the argument. The reality is that administrative rulemaking has imprisoned us, and we don't have democratic recourse. And part of that is that it's so top-down. One of the big problems with Obamacare is, and this is analogous, is this idea of one size fits all. One size doesn't fit all.
Well, we could say we have 1% of the population with the Veterans Administration handling the health of the veterans, and the 1% of the population doesn't seem to be able to handle very well, and it seems that it breaks down in the bureaucracy. And what's going to happen when we add the other 99% to it? It's frightening.
I have a friend who has VA health care. He's a couple years older than me. He's skinny as a rail. I've known him since I was 19. He's always been thin. He's a health food nut. He has a contracting business, so as a result...
Okay, we run out of time. We give it about 1 minute, so pull it together.
Okay, well, if we have 1 minute, I would like to read something quickly.
Okay.
And this is from a letter I wrote to it was published in the Ledger-Dispatch. If the United States falls due to massive debt, countries like China and Saudi Arabia will hold the balance of power in the world. The entire world will fall into a dark age of 500 to 1,000 years until another exceptional nation like ours, the United States, arises. Shutting down the federal government, and this is what I wrote it in response to, shutting down the federal government and even default brinksmanship are small risks considering the stakes.
Okay. Well, that makes some sense. So you're going back to saying when we have to shut the government down from, you know, trying to handle the purse strings to try to get some back in alignment. It's not like we're shutting the government down forever. Maybe it'll be a couple of days, 3 weeks, who knows. And the government's certainly been shut down quite a few times in the past. I believe in the Reagan administration was probably shut down maybe 6 or 7 times.
No, I remember it clearly.
Okay, and it wasn't the end of the world. In fact, the federal government shuts down every weekend. It shuts down for 3-day weekends, so it's not there. And, you know, sometimes we even have 4-day weekends, and everybody's doing fine. In that sense. But we do know what it means to government, which sometime maybe we get together we could talk about, because right now government's looking a little bit more like we can divide it into the ruling class and the country class. And of course here in Amador County we're pretty much in the country class, and we only have a few minutes. But I think locally, and you can see if you give you a quick, you can see if you agree or not. Locally, I think we're represented pretty well in the interests of economy. For
definitely.
You know, watching our budgets, and I think we have a good leadership there. Agreed?
Oh, absolutely. I think that's one of the greatest thing about the county is the present Board of Supervisors. There have been, well, one challenger that lost, and of course, as we know, another that's in a runoff, with a challenger being funded in part or at least supported by forces outside the county with a very specific political agenda.
All right. Okay. Mark, thanks for coming by.
A pleasure to be here.
Have you back on again. So thanks for watching TS News, and we'll see you again next time. You're watching Amador County's local television network, TSPN.